Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are reading Bane Conquest, which is a book I've been interested for a while. You know, John, but the listeners might not, that Bane is one of my favorite villains of Batman. I was prime age for Bane when he was created. Little 6-year-old Matt thought he was the coolest looking bad guy ever. And specifically, the cover that Kelly Jones drew where he's breaking Batman's back. I saw that image. I saw that comic at the library because they used to have like floppies in like those plastic folders or whatever that you could read. And I saw that cover and thought it was the coolest looking thing ever. So since then, big fan of Bane. But there's not too much Bane content, at least from the stuff I've read. So it was kind of cool. I saw this came out in like the mid 2010, so I think around 2016 it came out. And it's a 12 issues maxi series. And so like that, it seemed kind of interesting because one, those creators don't get that much work anymore at DC and whatnot. And then two, it's all them like returning to the character that they created like 25 years later or whatever. So thought that was kind of cool. Had you heard of this before, John?
No, I think that we'd only read previously for the podcast one other like villain-centric comic where I just like their point of view. Catwoman When in Rome from our team, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, R.I.P. But yeah, so when you mentioned this one, I went and looked it up and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like another villain-centric. I like that idea, especially because I'm growing up too. Like I think my first introduction to Bane was actually probably one that you would hate, the Batman and Robin movie.
I saw that movie like 10 times in theaters, John. Once again, I was prime age for all that stuff.
So like that was my first I probably that or the animated series. So right around that same time. But I always thought he was cool. I love I love all versions of his mask, whether you can see his like nose and mouth or if it's just like fully covered. And it's cool because you look at him and he's that character. If you don't know much about him, you just think, oh, he's just a big, strong brute, but he's also Batman's like intellect equal as well. So it's really cool. Or at least that's like, I guess that's like, I don't know if that's the original, but like most Banes are both. Sometimes he is like in that movie, they made him just be stupid and strong. But yeah, so that was cool to know in the, later on that he was both. And then to see that we're going to get this, story from his point of view, I was excited. So yeah, but I had not heard of it.
Yeah, in the original, introduction of Bane, he is literally like a tactician and gigantic. That's his original creation. And then for like the movie, they're just like, he's a big guy. So they dumbed him down for the movie. They're just like, he's an idiot who's strong. So, so yeah, and I prefer his mask to be fully covering his face. But I understand like maybe for showing emotion and stuff in this comic, they gave him the like more luchador mask where it's like open mouth and stuff. So
was he ever actually a luchador? Or is that something that they added in later? Or?
That's something they added in later. I know like in the most recent, I think it's called One Bad Day, like series that DC did, where it takes like every villain's like day they turned, I think. And for him, well, I don't know if it's the day they turned. I didn't read any of them because it didn't seem like something I cared about. But I heard the Bane one was like he's old Bane. He's retired and he's living in Mexico or somewhere, and he's like a luchador, and it's about him wrestling and stuff. So I don't think he was that before. So that is
just a scary mask.
He's not. I mean, the culture he comes from is not Mexican. It's a South American country that doesn't exist, where he grew up in a prison
Yeah,
cell.
that's true.
So
Because he
he
was
doesn't.
born in a prison, right?
Yeah, he was born in the prison that Batman, was in or whatever, right? So, um, it's very much like they've just kind of added that because they're like, oh, he's Hispanic, so we'll like add some culture to him. But I'm like, I mean, he's Hispanic as far as like that's what his parents were or whatever, I guess. But like, um, I mean, the culture he would grow up in would have been like the prison stuff. Like, I don't know if he would care about being a luchador or whatever. But like I don't think he had a lot of big festivities, and he didn't go to quinceañeras when he was in prison as a child. So, um, yeah, I feel like they've like added that so they can. Well, now I think he's dead. I think there's like Bane now or whatever, like his daughter or something. Um, I don't know because I don't read that, but not that I wouldn't. I just haven't heard anything good about anything. So I try to only read stuff that people recommend that I believe we have the same taste. So if someone that I don't, if someone that I like their opinions and we agree on a lot of like, oh, we like the same stuff, then I will check out something, that's like a newer thing like that. But that's why it was kind of surprising to see this because it's, the mid 2010s. I don't think Chuck Dixon, I think he'd kind of been off of DC's radar for at least like the last thing I remember him writing was in the mid 2000s. He wrote like a Midnighter series, which is that character from Authority,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh,
he's like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like the Batman character from Authority. He wrote one of those miniseries, and that was like the last thing I ever saw him write for DC. So I think he kind of, like some of those older writers or the writers, not that he was necessarily old in the 2000s, but like, he wrote Batman for like 20 years or something like that, and then, or like 15 years. And then like they just kind of like phase you out as new writers come in and they get hot or whatever. Um, Same with artists, they do that too. Like Walt Simonson can't get a book for the life of him. He's one of the best artists of all time, and they're like, your style's too old looking. It's like I'm Walt fucking Simonson. Like I wouldn't give a fuck if he's old now or whatever. Like he still is awesome at drawing. So, but whatever. That's just kind of what happens in the industry. Like whatever hot writers and artists are on are going to get work. And even though you might have put out really good work for a certain amount of time, you will get left behind. Um,
You're old and busted.
exactly. And I will say like, Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan, who are the artists, who's the artist, that team, worked on Batman for a very long time. They created Bane together with, I think Doug Mensch also was part of that because he was writing detective comics at the time, one of the two, Batman or Detective, I can't remember, when Bane was created. So, but they're like, I guess not in a, I don't mean this in a mean way, but they're jobbers, like, right. Their job was to write like a monthly book and keep it good quality. It wasn't like, like if you pick up something from Alan Moore or something, you're like, oh, this is like a limited series and it's going to be, like the craziest thing I've ever read, and like it's gonna blow my mind. Well, I like those as well, and sometimes those are like great, but I kind of do prefer if you're having a run of something, just like a solid writer. It's not gonna blow your socks off every week, but you will be fulfilled when you read it. You'll be like, that was fun, you know, and
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather read like a whole good solid story than have like, a couple climaxes or a couple parts of it that were good.
yeah, exactly. And or like, especially if it's just an ongoing thing. I mean, a lot of people there's a lot of ongoings that I just drop because I don't like the ongoing. So I feel like it's very consistent nowadays. Whereas back then they really focused on like we're building stories that, aren't necessarily like high art or something, but they're solid, I think Jeff Johns is a writer like that as well. Like I can read anything by him, and almost everything that he wrote from like the JSA to Green Lantern and all that stuff, it's either like average or actually it's above average or like really solid. It's not even like I don't even think there's like average stuff in there. If there's an average stuff, it's like because it's building to the above average thing. So, um, but yeah, like I think those kind of in quotation marks jobber writers are they have a hard job. They have to keep your interest as a reader over years, and not every issue is going to be a winner. Sometimes, so um, I appreciate that they let them do this. I don't know if this was something planned for a long time or if this was like they wanted to put a Bane book out for some reason. Maybe when the movie came out, maybe that might be
Yeah, maybe.
when did the third Batman come out?
Yeah, let me see. When I forget when that one.
2012. I feel like it was 2012.
Yeah, it's 2012.
Okay, so it's close enough. Maybe they were like, "Hey, we got any Bane stories?" And um, so that might be why. But anyway, so let's get into this because it is 12 issues. I will say it did read really quickly for 12 issues, considering like something like Watchmen is 12 issues, and that feels like you're reading the epic American novel or something.
And we had to split that up into 2 or 3 podcasts.
3 podcasts.
Whereas, yeah, and this is not going to be that at all. Like this one read very smoothly and quickly. Not to say that the Watchmen didn't read smoothly. It just, it's got a lot to say.
Different style. It's Alan Moore. So
yeah.
I will say the first issue was a little bit confusing. I had a hard time like following exactly what was going on, just because like they just start you in the middle of it. There's no like setup of like I am Bane, I am king of this castle. There's no like narration, and a lot of books nowadays use narration to set stuff up. Like so if say for instance over this first panel there's like a ship on the sea, you'd have like Bane talking about like how this is his city and anyone who's gonna try to get it is gonna get the wrath of him or something like that. Just so we know like okay, like we're at Gotham, but like we didn't know that. We just start off and there's like a ship and it seems like they're trying to smuggle stuff into Gotham, and Bane and his guys are breaking into it. Did you get exactly why they're breaking into this ship?
No, I think just that he basically like nobody comes into Gotham without my permission kind of things.
Yeah, it was just like he knew that they were smuggling, and so he was like, I'm gonna like break in there and like steal your shit. Now, one thing I love, I don't know if you appreciate this, John, but modern day guys they draw in comics, they never are hairy. And that's one thing they always used to do in comics. Like if you look at Wolverine in the 90s, Batman in the 90s, Bane in the 90s, they're hairy. And I love that they gave him like the hairiest fucking shoulders.
Oh yeah, no.
It's fun. I think it was like it was fun to see it because you never see it anymore, everybody's got the smoothest skin ever. He waxes in all the modern comics. So but yeah, I just imagine him, like a 40-year-old virgin getting waxed. But anyway, so immediately in this, we kind of get the feel for Bane. He's kind of hot-headed. He doesn't think that these guys can really do anything to him. And like his men are like, hold on, boss. Like, we don't know exactly what we're getting into. And Bane's like, I have no time for holding on. And then he like goes to just attack the ship and just starts killing everybody. He's chopping off hands and stuff. There were some actual funny moments in this. I appreciated the humor in it. And it turns out that Bane was correct. They were trying to smuggle weapons into Gotham. And so now he's got a mission of who's trying to smuggle weapons, right? So, and no one will smuggle weapons into my city. And so he's back at his headquarters after he sinks that ship, and he's got like his own, we'll call it the Bane cave. I don't know where it is, but they don't say where it is, but it's got a lot of tech stuff in it, and him and his 3 henchmen like hang out there. And he even has like little souvenirs because he has like a flashback of his childhood where he maybe got sexually assaulted as a child in the prison. I think that's what they were hinting.
I mean, okay, so the fact that they're making sure you understand that this is the prison where he's still a kid. Someone comes up to him while he's very vulnerable in a shower, naked, and like comes up behind him, and then he's holding that teddy bear, and then yeah, you come out of his like flash of where he's thinking of that in the shower, and it's the teddy bear he had in like glass that's kind of like 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 messed up because it's really old. So yeah, it was very much like something happened there.
Yeah, we don't know what happened, but it was bad. I mean, how traumatized would you have to be to bring a teddy bear in the shower with you? Uh,
Yeah.
so, but he has the bear that is, it's got like an eye and an arm missing now, but it's under glass in his, Bane cave. So it means a lot to him. And he's having like flashbacks as he takes a shower modern day. He's having flashbacks of taking a shower as a child and being assaulted in some way, some fashion. We're not sure. But from that, he's like, all right, we need to, like, my henchmen, we need to like go around and figure out who is trying to smuggle stuff. So we get like a little montage of like them beating the fuck out of all the contacts, and eventually they find out that well, they have to go through a lot of people to like get the information. They torture a bunch of people. There's a lot going on, but eventually they find out that this guy is named, what's his name, Damocles, um, who is the person that is in charge of this smuggling operation. And uh, so like Bane of course knows the myth of Damocles and whatnot. So um, he's confused at first. He's like, why would you name yourself after that? Because it's like a sword hanging over your head all the time. And Damocles, when Bane goes to attack him, he's actually like his lines are cut because they've established Bane kind of just rushes in to these situations, thinking that he is Bane. You cannot beat Bane. So
Yeah, who's gonna be Bane?
yeah, when he finds where Damocles is, he just rushes in head first and doesn't bring his guys or anything. And turns out Damocles is pretty good at martial arts or something. This was very much reminiscent of the Mountain versus Oberon fight in Game of Thrones,
Oh yeah, very much so.
where like Damocles is like, haha, I have speed and flexibility, and then he kicks Bane and stuff, and then eventually, like, um, Bane gets the better of him, or not actually, he gets electrocuted this time. That's how they take him down by electrocuting Bane, and it seems like, oh wow, like Damocles is pretty formidable. Um, and then we get another flashback once he's passed out of what I assume is like uh, an attempted sexual assault by one of these men in this prison. But he keeps a knife in his teddy bear as a child, and he stabs this dude in the foot and gets away. So, but when he wakes up, he's in like a little prison cell uh, inside of Damocles's base or whatever, and uh, it turns out that Bruce Wayne is also a prisoner there, and it seems like now we all know. Well, I don't know if you knew, but Bane knows who Batman is because that's how he broke his back and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, um, like, of course, Bane has a grudge against Batman still, but one thing I think this shows because Bane isn't as formidable against Bruce in this or Batman in this in this run or this little maxi series because I think they're showing like that Bane has kind of stayed the same level of threat, but Batman has gotten better over the years. And so that's why like it seems like Batman is always one step ahead of him, even though in the original, like when they first fought, Bane was always one step ahead of Batman, and that's why he was like threatening. But it seems like maybe Bane has kind of stayed the same, and Batman has grown as a detective slash formidable opponent.
That's kind of how I felt too, because when he noticed him, he said, like you said, he says Wayne, and I was like, okay, that's Bruce Wayne, and then uh he says right away, like, oh, you were on the trail of Damocles, and he's like, yeah, I got here, like, so that made me think, like, oh yeah, he meant to be captured, and he's formulating and figuring out what Damocles is doing and how he's going to stop him. So like that's exactly what I got from that. So like, yeah, ahead of Bane.
Yeah, and I imagine that Bruce or Batman, or I guess it was Bruce Wayne. I'm assuming they didn't just take off his cape and cowl, and maybe I think Bruce is undercover, because he used to dress up like different people back in the day, and when he did his undercover work. So I think he's undercover, and he's doing. That's why Bruce actually says like no names, please, because he doesn't want his cover blown. Um, but but yeah, so Bruce is undercover, and it seems like he wanted to get caught so he can find out everything that's going on in their operation. Um, and so uh, they're trying to formulate a plan to get out of this like prison cell. They actually do some like torturing of Bane. He doesn't talk, but it isn't fun. We're assuming. We also see like as a child, we see how Bane like made his henchmen because Trog is so he's got three henchmen. One's called Zombie, who looks pretty much like a zombie. He's got like a Haitian zombie. Um, and then like there's a guy named Trog who looks kind of like Beast or something before he was blue. So he's kind of got like a Neanderthal kind of face and whatnot. Um, and then there's a guy named Bird who helps him out with like aerial stuff and getaway stuff. So that's like his henchmen. And but they are not here. They have not figured out a way to get in, I guess, or they're not aware that he's over here. So um, eventually, Bane figures out a way out. Bruce was like, "I've been working on it," but Bane is like, "I know how to get out of here." And like when they raise the door to put food in, Bane like rips the toilet off the floor and shoves it in the door so that it has to stay open, and then he breaks through the wall by like punching through it. And Wayne or Bruce is like, well, I guess we have to go now. like there's nothing else I can do. So um they pretty much shoot everybody up in this place, and um and then now they're kind of allies to figure out who Damocles is, and how how is this network so big, and like it seems like it's more than just Damocles, right? Like there's a lot more stuff they found in the computers in the base.
Yeah, and they both go like, "Oh, we both know the Greek mythology, so like we know there's some probably if he's called Damocles, there's got to be someone probably above him."
Yeah, there's like Dionysus above him, right? So
Yeah,
um they kind of assume that, and so yeah, they figure out where Damocles is. I think that they have like a tracker on him or something.
I think Bruce said he put one on him.
Yeah, either that or like they're just going up through the levels of this compound that they were imprisoned. That might be what it is too.
I love how Bane juiced up here. Like he didn't have like the things to like put into his tubes or whatever, and so he pops open these little capsules that they had taken from him, I guess, and just drops them into his eyes.
Is that what he does? I thought he plugs them into his. He's got those two things on his skull.
Oh, never mind. I that made me think that he like dripped it into his eyes. Okay, well not as cool. It is cool that he stabbed him into his forehead. Yes, that is.
He's got like ports where the hoses normally hook in, and instead he doesn't have the hoses in the like pump or whatever. So he just took these like vials of it that have like a syringe or whatever, and he shoved them into the ports, and it like juiced him up for this fight.
Okay. That also cool, but I thought for me for a second it looked like he goes up and there his hands are above his eyes a little bit, like just above, and then it showed a close up of his eyes. I my first thought of reading this was that he was dropping dropping the drug in his eyes to get high
That's
with
a
it,
weird
but he
way
didn't.
to take drugs. I'm sure someone's done
But
it,
no,
but yeah.
yes, but no, the port's on his head. Okay, makes more sense.
Dropping heroin in your eyes, that might not be the way to go. I'm gonna assume. But yeah, anyway, so they are attacking everybody they find, all the goons and everything throughout this compound, and Bane is going after Damocles, and Batman goes another way, and he finds Dionysus. And what did you think about Dionysus as a character? Because he is an insane character. I fucking loved his design. I'll explain him real quick. He is a head with tiny arms in a little tank like body that is like a robotic kind of like iron lung kind of thing. But he's a very decrepit old man. So like what'd you think of him as a design?
I liked it very much. It's kind of like well, I was gonna say like Modoc, but obviously smaller. But I guess maybe more like Mojo, but just the head and then arms.
Yeah, I guess, but like not there's not like weird alien stuff about it. It looks like he's figured out some kind of, technology to keep him alive, but the technology doesn't really do anything for his body other than keep him alive. So,
Yeah,
um,
it definitely doesn't do anything for his looks. But no, yeah, like I very much thought like right away. I was like, oh, this is very fun, very old school kind of villain in the background. It's the guy in the chair, but he's also like technically like stuck to the chair because he's just barely alive. There's always I like that trope of the old man who's secretly running things, but he's so old he really can't physically run everything per se. Like he does a little because he's attached to computers as well. But uh the fact that like he's definitely not gonna physically harm or assault anybody.
yeah, at least not with his body. But they do say like his chair has a bunch of weapons in it and stuff later on, so he could technically kill you. But while Batman, kind of bests Dionysus, and I think he just says like, "You're coming with me," and then like, "No tricks, we're getting out of here alive." So they're walking to like the exit, but then we cut back to Bane, who's fighting Damocles, and it looks like Damocles is doing good. He's doing like let me show you how to count in Espanol. Uno, dos, tres. And he like does like little punches or whatever and hits Bane. And then Bane grabs his hand and says, no mas. And then like basically breaks his arm, breaks his leg, punches his face, and murders him. Well, I guess he doesn't murder him. He just completely breaks his body because he told Batman he wouldn't murder anybody.
But I love that he says, I've got a lesson for you. Let me teach you some words in Latin.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
Then
it's
he
all of the
goes
bones he's
he goes through all
breaking.
the bone names. That was fantastic. I really liked. I know it's probably cheesy or whatever, but I liked that they added the little like Hispanic, like the language. They added like Spanish when he talks and stuff. So, um, like he calls it. Like I was surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't know you could. I guess nowadays you can say like puta and stuff, or like other words that I don't know if you'd be able to get away with them in English.
I'd say it's
Um,
not English though.
yeah, but he's able to swear pretty good in Spanish, so that's pretty fun. But one of my favorite parts of this issue is so Batman and Bane meet up, and Bane has Damocles. He's like, "Here's Damocles," and Batman's like, "I told you not to kill him." He's like, "I didn't kill him. I just broke every bone in his body," and then like throws him on the ground, and then like Batman and him have a little fight, and during this fight, Dionysus is like, "See ya," and he's got a little rocket in his chair, and then he like takes off, and Bane is like, "No, I will kill you. I will not let you get away," and he like jumps off the ledge over like this. I guess he's going like Dionysus is going to like a little helipad or something, but he has got to fly over there, and so Bane jumps on him and makes him crash, and he is able to capture um, Dionysus. He like pulls his whole, I guess, head and arms out of the chair because that's all Dionysus is just the head and arms, little baby arms too. So, um, but Batman doesn't follow them, so Bane is like, "You will tell me what I want to know about your organization." Um, and so, like, I like they keep him in like a cat carrier as they're like flying to places and stuff, um, because he's small enough to fit into like a cat carrier. But yeah, so uh, what is it, Democles? No, Dionysus. Okay, so Democles is out of the picture. That was one thing that was with this story is there's a lot of like kind of middle bad guys that they have to fight to like get to the next bad guy, and sometimes I would forget who was who. So, um,
Yeah, Dionysus is there. He's the one who continues on through
yes, through the whole
more
thing.
of this. Yeah.
And so he tells them that they need to like if you want to really take over my empire, you're gonna have to like go to each area of the world and like take it over one section at a time. So um, he tells them to go to Russia. And now at the same time, we see Catwoman has been hired by some government organization, it seems, to input some kind of virus or something, or like a tracker or something into the computer. So at the same time, Bane and everybody are planning planning this, uh, like planning to go to St. Petersburg and like attack that section, um, we see Catwoman getting prepared and getting like asked to do this job for the government. So we also see in the background like Bane and Dionysus's relationship. It seems like Dionysus is actually a pretty good tactician as well, and he seems like he's better than Bane. Am I wrong about that? Did you get that too?
No, no, I think I'd have to agree with you because it shows them as they are like talking through things. It will not like at first he's kind of keeping him in the cat cage, or he puts him in a place where he's got a couple like lizards, and like
Like terrarium. They put his head in a terrarium.
yeah, there you go. Like he's definitely beneath him, but then as they like get more, well, I guess we'll say it partner-ish, he like lets him kind of rebuild a little bit of a floaty suit for him, and then they're like just talking at like one of his like tables as normal, and then they play chess, but Dionysus beats Bane at chess. And so yeah, that was definitely
Yeah,
like
I
a
think what they're going for in this is that Bane has a reliance on, like, he's got the mind and he could do that, but he's got a reliance on his strength and particularly Venom that does show more and more throughout this maxi series, um, like where he needs it to like to feel like he's 100%. Like he doesn't feel ready unless he's got some venom in his blood. So, yeah. So anyway, they set up like this attack on this compound that is like a part of the Dionysus network or whatever. And they actually hook Dionysus up into it. And they make a little bet. They say, Bane, you do your way, and I'm going to do my way, Dionysus says. And we'll see who comes out the winner. And so you think, oh, it's like Bane's up for a challenge. He's like, no problem. And so we see him doing it like the Bane way, which is like through muscle and kind of pushing his way into the place. And then we see Dionysus is like hovering in front of like a circuit board as like a background, and he's connected to all the wires, so he's like in the mainframe or whatever. Um, and so yeah, um, in the background, we see Catwoman is also in this compound, and she's like, "What? Like, why are these guys here? I'm trying to do my mission, and now I got to deal with these guys." And then also we see Bird, the henchman that was left to guard against, I guess, betrayal or whatever of Dionysus. He is betrayed. It turns out that Dionysus was like, "I'm gonna send you on this stupid mission, and you're dumb enough to take it, and like take my challenge, and then I'm going to." Um, Basically bring all the authorities and everything there, and you're gonna get caught, and I'm gonna like take over and rebuild or whatever. So, um, but of course, Bane is able to get into the areas he needs, but he's gonna muscle his way everywhere, and he actually runs into Catwoman, um, who just doesn't she trigger an alarm or something, like when Bane's trying to like cut the phones or something.
yeah, she's like, oh, this is gonna work even better for me because like now you're this big brute who's gonna like leave a trail of destruction, and that'll kind of keep everyone occupied while I go do my thing.
Yeah. And one thing I was always wondering, like, what the time frame of this is supposed to be, like, as far as continuity. And I think the Catwoman costume puts it in the late '90s, early 2000s, because that's the Catwoman costume that was the Darwin Cook costume that he designed. Yeah, he did a run of Catwoman with Ed Brubaker, um, writing it.
Oh,
So,
oh, nice.
which we have not read, but we will read sometime.
Yeah, we definitely should.
Yeah, and so Um, so based on that, I'm going to assume this is in continuity of that time period. Just like a story that Bane happened to Bane, in between somewhere. So, uh, also like, did you know that Catwoman has like electric, like basically a stun gun in her gloves?
No, I did not. I've never seen that
I
before.
didn't either. I was like, maybe I forgot that because I haven't read that much Catwoman. But in this, she has basically taser hands when she wants them. So she tases Bane as he like tries to attack her, um, and they're both on their own mission though, right? Like we see there's like the tech guys of this compound and like, what's going on? There's someone here. And we see like there's someone in the mainframe, and it's like all of a sudden the screen pops up. This reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park when Arnold or Samuel L. Jackson's character tries to do something on the computer after Newman, whatever his name is in that movie. Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
you didn't say the magic word. I was like, oh,
That's exactly what I thought.
that's basically what pops up on the screen here. And we see that Dionysus is, hacked into the mainframe. He's getting all the information he wants and needs. And then, but now Bane is on the, like, he's basically fighting all these guys and murdering everybody he finds because the alarm's going off and they're all going to him, and no one's paying attention to what's going on the mainframe, except the two computer geeks that are trying to de-hack or whatever Dionysus is doing.
And we should say with murdering, like this is a maxi series, so it's like legit. There's blood and bullets going through people, so it definitely makes the action a little more intense, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like Bane has no problem killing people, and they show it in this. Um, so yeah, it's pretty interesting. We get to see like he's going after Catwoman because she fucked him over, and as he's kind of going through this whole crowd um of like people attacking him, but eventually, um, doesn't he ask? I don't remember why he stops. He does catch her, and then he like it looks like he might break her neck or something.
Yeah, he's like, "Why the fuck are you here?"
And she tells him like, because I'm gonna break into this database and put in some like thing the government wants to put into it. And so he lets her go because of that. He's like, oh, you're not trying to like fuck up my mission? No, okay, cool. You do what you want. So he lets her go, but he does not like that she she's a strong, independent woman. So whenever she'll talk back to him and stuff, and she says like, why don't you lay off the juice? Because he starts pumping it up venom. And he's like, how about you shut up? Shut your mouth. So he yells at her, and then they are able to, I guess, get where they needed to go, which I'm not. What were they trying to get here? Was it money or something, or just break into this compound?
I think they were just basically trying to break in. The other guys were looking for, like, I guess if there was like a stash of things. Bane was looking to, like, I guess, go to wherever the head people were and like take them out.
Yeah, they were trying. Okay, so yeah, Trog was trying to find money, like the henchmen that were with Bane, and they found like pallets of money, and then like it just seemed like they had little different missions as part of this bigger mission, which was like, okay, you get the money, I'll get the kill the main people, because Bane kills the like head of this compound, who is like Euro trash, which I thought was funny. He's just some like Russian guy who's like, he reminded me of like the guy in John Wick, the bad guy. It's like that kind of
Oh yeah,
a
yeah,
dude. Theon Greyjoy, whatever the fuck his name is. That's what I know him as. So, um, but yeah, and then Catwoman's able to do her mission, which is Bane helps. Once Bane kills everybody, he like helps her break into the computer room, and because he also hears that like he's being betrayed by Dionysus by now. And so he helps Catwoman get to the computer room where she plugs in her little device, her little USB card that like basically shuts down the computer and gives it all over to the police, and Dionysus can't do anything anymore. So that works, and then Bane, like she does the thing she always does with Batman, where she kind of like tries to seduce him or do something, but she's just trying to like fool him. She's using her feminine wiles against his dumb male brain, and and it works because he's like, huh? Like, you like me? And then like she shocks him again with her gloves, which knocks him out, and then they end up having to leave. So yeah, it seems basically Bane is like, how dare you betray me, Dionysus? You will pay for this. That's how it leaves. Them returning home, and like
back into the terrarium.
yeah, you go back to the terrarium with the lizards now. No technology for you. And so then that's like the end of the kind of the first main story arc. Then we get introduced to the second story arc, where we see this guy who's like super rich. He's driving in a Cadillac, like, or a I don't know, a convertible. That's what I meant to say, a convertible. And this is like this guy gets picked up. Like all of a sudden, like a tractor beam comes down and picks him up, and he's got a girl in the car, and she's like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And he's like, "Don't worry, they're with me." And then like, it turns out he is some guy called the Naja Naja, or Naha Naha. I'm not sure which it is, but um, it is. He's basically like the Jesus of some kind of cult that's called the Serpent, and or no, they're called Cobra. I'm sorry, and their name is spelled different than. Is it spelled different than the GI Joe one, or is it the same spelling?
No, I think it was the same
It's the
spelling.
same spelling. You're right. I don't know how they got away with that, but apparently one of them probably isn't happy about that about the other. I don't know as far as like copyright and stuff, but who knows? But anyway,
Oh no, it is. I lied. It's K. It's Kobra. That's why. My bad.
come on, John. Anyway, so we get to see how much of a piece of shit this Naja Naja guy is, because he's like, "Oh, get rid of my car," and then they're like henchman's like, "Okay," and he pushes a button, and the girl is still in the car, and he like, oh no, he said get rid of he says get rid of the girl, and so the guy's like, "Oh, you want me to?" He's like, "Yeah, just do it." And he like pushes a button, and the hatch, like the door of the ship, opens and drops the car from thousands of feet up or whatever, and she's in the car too. But the guy's more pissed off about the car being killed than or being destroyed than the girl being killed. So we get to see that a bit. Um, and which is like it just sets up like who this guy is, because it turns out this group is actually like the next like the bigger version of Dionysus's empire, right? So basically this whole thing is like Bane coming into contact with all these different um organized crime syndicates or whatever, and each one is bigger than the last one. So he's like, I will, like the second he finds out there's a bigger one, he's like, I will now conquer this one as well. Like, and so I think that's why it's called Conquest, because he's like the whole time just trying to conquer all these. So uh he learns about that from Dionysus. Like he tells him like, I'm not the biggest fish in the sea. There's actually this other thing called Cobra, and they're actually the biggest thing in the sea. Um, and so um, they go after people who know about this organization. So Bane starts going after, like, I don't know if they're Yakuza or something, but some Asian gang that supposedly knows stuff about Cobra. Um, and we find out a little bit about this religion that, and the Naja Naja guy. He apparently, from birth, is chosen because he has like a snake birthmark on him. And it does seem supernatural, like he is chosen, because like when the Naja Naja dies, like at the second he dies, that's when the cult has to pick and find all the babies born the second that he died in the world, and then they search for the birthmark of like the Cobra, and that is how they know like, oh, this is like a real religion with a real god or whatever.
Yeah, because he transfers his essence right away into a new body. So that is kind of interesting, giving a little supernatural element to it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, because it definitely
I,
is supernatural.
yeah,
um,
that and all their snake costumes.
Yes, they all have snake costumes, which I thought was funny. They do look a lot like, you could totally see Cobra Commander in here if they did a crossover. There should be a crossover where it's like Cobra and Cobra combined, like they join forces. Um, but anyway, we really get to see this guy as like an annoying little like whiny asshole, the Naja Naja dude. He like his, I guess the head like commander guy under him is like, come on, like I think we should go after Bane. He's like going after our organizations. He's conquered the Hive, Intergang, the Black Dragons. Like they're all people that pay tribute to us. So like obviously he's going after us. And Naja Naja's like, he's just a minor annoyance. And Cobra Commander guy's like, I beg you to reconsider. And then he like yells, "Who bears the mark?" Like he shows like his little tattoo. He has a little tantrum, which I thought was kind of funny to see his character. Um, but the Black Dragons that just got killed, that was the Asian gang. They killed everybody except one person who they're like, you will tell us everything we need to know about Cobra. So they get all that information, and then we proceed to learn about them and the whole like how the baby's born and all that stuff and where he's coming from. And so now they're kind of like all out war, but the Naja Naja guy, he is not thinking that this is a real threat. So much, in fact, that he's like his people are like, you should be indoors, like stay with us because we can protect you. Bane is after you. And he's like, I don't care. There's a new yacht being like going out today from a friend and I have to go because it's a new yacht. And so it seems like he's really not taking any of this like seriously. So he goes on this yacht, and of course Bane immediately goes to attack him and like capture him because he finds out from the torturing of that Asian gang member that um, that like all they need to do, like this guy is sacred. He's like their Jesus. So if they capture him, they will basically control Cobra. So they go after him, and this is where we find that like, I mean, we see again basically that Bane just rushes in. He doesn't fully come up with all the, like he doesn't fully use his intellect that he does have, at least anymore, right? Like he's full on just like meathead whenever he's like going to attack stuff. I want to say it's like roid rage or something, but
It probably is. He gets juiced up and then just heads in.
yeah. And so as he's like, hey, we got him, like he captures the Naja Naja, and as he's like going in his boat away from the yacht to wherever they were going to rendezvous, all of a sudden a submarine comes up out of nowhere and it's Cobra, and they're like, let go of the Naja. And so I liked this one a lot. Basically, there's a big shootout. The Naja lives, and Bane has to jump off in order to not die. So he gets away, but he's failed, right? And I thought this was hilarious. So the Naja guy is like, he's wet, right? Because he was in the ocean for a while. And he's all upset because they're shooting around him. And he's like, I don't need your help. I'll go down the ladder myself. And then he slips on the rungs of the ladder and breaks his neck. So he dies
he has
anyway.
like the most pathetic death.
Yes, he dies anyway. And because they like when they kidnapped him, they put like a heart monitor on him because they did not want him to die. And so because of that, Bane and Dionysus know the exact moment that he died. So they are now like, wait, if we know the exact second he died, we can track the next baby that they're going to bring, to be the next Naja Naja. And so that's basically what they do. And then Dionysus talks about how like this is actually the perfect time to attack them because in this transition period between Naja Najas, that's when like they're their weakest. The Cobra is their weakest because it's hard to keep everybody in line without the like spiritual leader in charge kind of thing. So they do find eventually the location of the baby that is born with the snake tattoo. And so Bane immediately goes to that lady's house, and he's like, he sends Bird in there because Bird is like looks normal. He looks like a normal, middle-aged white guy. So Bird goes there. He's like, hello, ma'am. I am with Child Services, and I was just checking in on you. And then she's like, oh, why'd they send two of you? And it turns out that that Cobra has already sent like a top assassin what's her name? I don't remember her name. Valentina. She's like a top assassin for them. And so she's already got the baby in her arms, and she escapes with the baby. And we get another moment where we see that Bane is sympathetic towards women, or at least he's got a soft spot because he does catch up to her. He grabs her by the neck, and he's trying not to like hurt her too bad because she's holding the baby, so he can't like really go full force. But then like as she falls to the ground, she like starts crying and is like, please, will you care for him? And like you have to, he's sacred, and like they'll hurt him, and I have to be there for him. And he's like, I guess I can let you. And then like, and then she basically was just stalling until her guys came. She's like, man, you're an idiot. Like, I just needed like a couple seconds for my guys to show up, and now you're like outgunned. So it was pretty funny to see that happen.
I did want to know the place where because they were showing they were looking all over the world for the kid. Where this place that he was born, this made up place, Bloodhaven, Blud
Oh, you don't know what
Haven.
Bloodhaven is?
No, I was gonna ask you. I don't know what that
Oh,
is.
okay, so that's Nightwing City. It's basically New Jersey. If Gotham is New York, Bloodhaven is in New Jersey.
Oh, okay, cool. I just was curious. I figured it was something since it's a specific made up name. It was somebody's home.
Yeah, it's like when Nightwing in the '90s went on his own, and like he was like, "I'm taking over my own city. I'm gonna like protect my own city. I don't need Batman," and so he took to saving
New
Bloodhaven.
Jersey.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bloodhaven, not New Jersey.
Bloodhaven.
But I'm just saying that as like that's basically what it is. But so Bane is pissed off that he gets got tricked again by a woman of all things. Those women and their wily ways. So he his guys are following, like his henchmen are following like on a freeway where this ship that picks up the baby and Valentina. And so they get in there and then it drives off the freeway. His henchmen drive off the freeway and smash their van into the wing of this thing. And then all the guys are like, why would he do that? Like it barely did any damage. And then it turns out that Trog has explosives in it. And so when he jumped out of the van and crashed it, he triggers the explosives and now they crash down and it's a whole big thing. So there's a fun sequence where you think like I one thing I liked about this is you never knew what was going to happen. Like I couldn't tell like is Bane going to get the baby? Is Bane not going to get the baby? But Bane did not get the baby. Valentina is quick enough. She jumped on a motorbike and just drove away before Bane could get her. And so now Cobra has the
A
baby.
flying motorbike.
Yeah, it is a hover bike, which I was like, okay, Bloodhaven's got hover bikes. Good to know. So yeah, I imagine there's one scene where she's driving past people on the freeway, going really fast, going the wrong way on the freeway. And one guy's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like shoving his fist out of the window. And that's either Chuck Dixon or Graham Nolan, I think. If I had to guess. I think I don't know. It looks more like Chuck Dixon to me, but I might be wrong. So because I don't know how long ago Graham Nolan had hair, but this guy has hair. So, but they both have beards. But Chuck Dixon has hair. So I think it's supposed to be Chuck Dixon, but I think it's a little callback to them. But anyway, so they failed for real. Cobra got the baby. And they're like, we must kill her. And I like how his men and Dionysus are like, dude, again, you fucked up because a girl like tried to like basically she played you, and you like let her fuck you up, and he's like, shut up, I don't want to hear it. But I don't know if that's a constant thing in Bane. I don't remember that being a thing in Nightfall, but I might be wrong.
I don't either, but maybe I don't know because I'm only pulling from non-comic references. So,
like in the movies, he doesn't do anything. He's just like Bane. That's all he does is say his name, and then like he's like the little bitch boy to Poison Ivy. That's the only thing.
But yeah, they do make it a point to be like, man, that's your Achilles heel, boss. Like women.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Hey, it makes sense. I don't blame Bane. I mean, it was Catwoman first, and then Valentina's not, hard on the eyes or anything. So, but anyway, so because Cobra now knows Bane is after this baby, they're like, we're going to destroy Bane's empire. So they start targeting, and they're a giant organization. So they start targeting every one of Bane's operations. So they go to Mexico, they kill everybody in his, drug facility and all this stuff. Like basically they go to every one of his facilities and they destroy everything for him. Like all the money, all that stuff. And so Bane is aware of it, but he comes up with his own plan. And his plan is to come up with a kind of like a Suicide Squad, but like a gang of his own that's formidable. So he first goes to Russia to get KG Beast, and he offers him a job. And then he gets a couple more people. There's what's this guy's name? Hawk? Something Hawk?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Gunhawk and Bunny.
Yeah, Gunhawk and Bunny, who are snipers and like arms experts, I guess. Like they're
Yeah.
assassins. So Bane goes to them, and at first they think he's going to kill them, or at least one of them. And then Gunhawk is like, "Oh, you just want to hire us? Oh, if you don't mind, like, can we kill this guy we were about to kill before you came in the room?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So they do that, and he's like, "Here's a phone. You made the money on this guy you just killed, and I will call you when I need you to come over." And then, and this was actually pretty cool. I thought this was a fun addition. I had no idea this was going to happen, but Bane is able to get some kind of otherworldly weapons, and basically, as the guy sells it to him and Bane leaves, we see that this man who sold it to them is Steppenwolf, the new god from Apocalypse. So, do you know who Steppenwolf is, John?
I do, and that's what I was gonna ask you because I was like, he didn't look obviously like any kind of god creature, but then his eyes glue red, so I was like, oh, maybe he is like just in like a human
Yeah,
form.
he's just a human form. He transforms.
Then yes, very much so. Yeah,
They're
he's one of
gods. They can
the
do that.
yeah.
They're literally new gods. One thing I liked is that I think Graham Nolan tried to change his art style to be a little bit more Kirby in this section, um, because like in homage to Kirby, like there's really thick outlines and everybody's got a really square face. So I thought that was kind of fun that he did that. I don't know if you picked up on that at all, but it seemed like a little bit more.
Yeah, it definitely I was gonna say it seemed like when we got to this like the yeah, everything was a lot thicker lined.
Yeah. Um, and then what? With the last guy he comes to get is a dude named I don't remember his name. What's his name? He's like a card shark. He's kind of like he's introduced as a card shark. Oh no, it's not the last guy, but one of the next guy he gets, I guess, is a card shark. Oh, his name is King Faraday. That's what it is. So a lot of these guys I didn't know if they were actually DC people before. I'm assuming they are. I'm assuming these are all villains and people from Dixon's run, back in the day in the '90s that he's kind of bringing back for this job in the story.
Yeah, he's
Um,
got to assemble his crew.
yes. Uh, so he assembles his crew. We get one more guy who's like going to be hung in Africa, and he's able to like. I like this part a lot. He's about to be hung for whatever crimes he did. A bag's put over his head. Then we just hear like everybody get murdered, and then like the bag comes off, and we see Bane be like, "Hey, you want to join?" He's got like a bloody knife. Um, and then I guess the last guy um, is this dude named what's his name? He's like the French guy. I don't even know
Yeah,
who he is.
he's the guy I was having a hard time finding the name because he they don't say it when they pick him up in costume, and then I guess I didn't have a good enough look at what it made sure I knew what everybody looked like outside of costumes because we don't see them all again until they're all outside of their costume, and I was like, oh crap, who was who?
Yeah, and the twist of it kind of makes it confusing too. So at the end, there's a twist that specifically is with the French guy. So um, I don't know what his name is. He's a French guy. He wears like a black suit. He kind of looks like Night Thrasher from Marvel a little bit, but they don't really say what his powers are either. He's like Daredevil or something. He's just going around. Maybe he's a thief or something, but he's getting shot at when they pick him up. So they save him from getting shot at, and then they take him there. So they take him to Bane. So now Bane's got his team assembled. It's looking pretty good. They go to where they're told the headquarters is. Or no, they need to find the headquarters. That's what it is. So they go to Jakarta, where there's like we'll say like the second level of operations, where they would know, the head of this place would know where the main office of Cobra is. And so Bane has Zombie use his powers on him, and it turns out Zombie's powers are to drain the life force out of you. So it turns this guy into an old man, and he says, if you don't tell us, then I won't like he can restore youth too. So like if you don't tell me, we'll just keep doing this over and over again. We'll bring you to the edge of death and then give you your life back, and then edge of death and then bring you your life back. And that the idea of that breaks the man, and so he does tell them where the base is located, and then Bane is like, "Oh, I might have exaggerated about the whole like giving you back your life thing," and then So we just assume that zombie just kills him, sucks all the life out. And then yeah, we're like in this last story arc called Reaper, where they know where the Citadel is, like the Cobra main stronghold. And so uh and it seems like I never got, did Dionysus ever, like, I don't, at the end of this, does he does he betray them? He doesn't, right?
No, I don't think so. I think by the end of this, he's like, Bane keeps getting the better of him, so I think he's just like, okay, well, I'm working for Bane.
Yeah, Bane gets the better of him, but it also, like, they're both of their plans are sucking every time they try something. So like I guess they're like, well, we'll just work together. So um so yeah, we go, there's like a couple, I don't remember, there's a little bit of this that I'm like shaky on exactly what they needed, but basically they're just trying to find they find all the people that need to be found in order to get what they need, in order to find the Citadel, which was that guy they tortured with the age thing, who led them to another person, who led them to another person, and each of those people get tortured or killed and or blackmailed, and then they then find the Citadel. So there's a little bit of a like, you got to go to this guy, to this guy, to this guy to get to that. So um but we do cut back to Batman a couple times where we see he's also following Bane's progress. He is aware of what's going on, and he's like, I think I need to step in now because the baby, it's a child, who's at risk here, and I won't risk a child. So um, Batman basically he sets up this plan where he's like, okay, like Wayne, he's like Elon Musk here, where he's got his own satellite rockets that can like be launched at any point at any time they want. So he like sets up a launching mission to launch a package that will like go into space and then drop down where he needs it tomorrow. And then they go to wherever the hell the Citadel is. I don't even know exactly where it is. Do they say where it is?
It's somewhere in Asia because they drop down near the port of Hey Hang Wang Hang.
Okay. I don't know if that's a
Hang
real port though. So
yeah, I
I
don't
was
either.
thinking this to me felt like Tibet or something, right? Like that's might as well be that or something.
Yeah.
Um, so, but they have to go to like snowy mountains to get to this Citadel. And they're able to track it because it has, a heat signature. I was like, yeah, of course it would have to have exhaust vents, and those are going to be putting out heat. So made sense to me. I was like, yeah, you totally track a compound like that. So, um, but they do get inside, and Bane's like, okay, I'm going to go find the child. You start creating diversion to all his team, and we see the French guy, and then Bunny and what's his name, Gunhawk. Yeah, Gunhawk. They are like, oh, we're just like, they find a ledge, and they're like, we're just gonna like start shooting everybody that's down there, because there's literally like just people walking around. It's like like on in Star Wars, there's like the place where everybody lands, and there's just people like doing the maintenance on ships and shit there. Like that's basically what it looks like. It's like henchmen just walking around doing their tasks, their mundane daily things. And Gunhawk is like, oh, I'm gonna like, they're all like um fish in a barrel basically, and so I'm just gonna like take them all out one by one and start causing commotion. And right when he says that, Bunny is like, hey, where'd that Frenchman go? And he's like, I don't know. So Frenchman runs away. We do see the Frenchman plugging something into the mainframe. He like sneaks into the like server room of this place and plugs it in. And oh, that, you know what, Dionysus was betraying Bane. So Dionysus's evil plan behind this, like the betrayal, was he was hooked into the mainframe initially, and he was going to turn the guy who's watching him at Bane's headquarters by like saying, I'm going to steal all the money from Cobra, and we're going to have a shit ton of money, and I can restart my own organization, and you'll be like my right hand man, and I will pay you a bunch of money. And as he's doing that, as it looks like he's about to get like $8 billion or whatever it was that he was stealing, we see the French guy put a USB card into the server, and it totally stops all that. So uh, so they're not like able to do what they were trying to do. Like the alarms go off, and now all of a sudden everybody knows someone's in the building. And so,
Okay, I'm totally missed that the first time we were reading it.
oh, you did?
Well, I guess that he was working with Dionysus.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, it's like, well, who's working?
Oh no, I so he stopped it. I'm sorry. He puts in
Yeah,
the
he
future.
stopped
So
it
he's
because
stopping it.
that. I mean, I'll spoil it right now. The French guy, like they're saying, like they kept saying, like someone is a betrayer here, one of us, and Bane is like, it's the Batman. One of my guys is Batman, but he doesn't know who. And
Oh
and the
no,
French
I
guy is
totally.
Batman.
Okay, well now it makes sense.
Yes, the French man is Bruce Wayne. Because that's why he's got a mask, right? That's like the obvious one. Because Bane actually thinks it's the other guy, what's his name, King Faraday, and he kills him. He breaks his back,
Does
and
the
he's like,
fact? Yeah, he does
haha,
the. He's like, I will do this to you again.
yeah. And then it turns out, no, King Faraday was just King Faraday, and you murdered him for no reason. So yeah, um, so now everything's going to shit as far as for Bane. They don't have the baby, and the alarms are going off. And now this giant, like Hulk Buster suit of armor comes through the wall, and turns out that is what's her name?
Valentina.
Valentina, the woman who, the assassin woman who was in charge of guarding the baby. And so, um,
But he's got his future weapons.
he's
So
got his god weapons from the new gods, and that kind of takes care of that at least initially. They're holding their own at least against that armor. Then we see Batman. He's now revealed. He was night or he was the French guy, and he has the baby. But Bane, Bane's fighting all these other guys now, so he's distracted. So Valentina in her armor confronts Batman. Is like, you will not take him from me, and so she's fighting him. And then we see Bane. Bane finds her again and like starts shooting her, and then uh, basically uh, he's losing against her until Batman disables the suit with his one of his batarangs, and so she's out. She's out of it. And Batman's like, "Give me the child," and he takes the child and he gets in like a tank. And Bane's trying to get the child as well, but Batman has him
he's
for
like,
now.
I do like it because he's like Valentina. He to Valentina is like, the child is mine. The Batman is mine. Back the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so one thing I liked was um, Gunhawk. He has a clear shot of Batman, and he decides not to take it, and I'm not sure why. I don't know why he does. I thought they would say, but he doesn't take it.
To me, I read that page because I see he's like, I'm gonna kill you. I got always time for one more, and then he sees it's Batman. To me, in my head, that was him. Like, oh, this whole thing is over. Batman's here
or maybe he
for real.
respects Batman or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think he's a mercenary, not like a villain, right? So he's okay to kill people for hire, but he's not going to kill Batman for no reason. Um, but anyway, Batman he's got like a what's it called? A sea bat. It's like a bat boat or whatever that he's got waiting for him in a cave. So he goes there, and he, like, as he's jumping into it with the baby, he gets
Yeah.
pulled underwater by Bane with his cape. But luckily Batman isn't stupid, and his cape can just like come off easily, and it's got a quick release or something. So he leaves Bane in the water, and then he's got the baby still though, and basically Bane and him have a conversation. As Bane looks like he's gonna attack him, Batman's like, "Look, are you really gonna like steal this baby from me? Like, isn't he an innocent child? Weren't you an innocent child once?"
Just like you were.
Basically, he does talk Bane into stepping back and letting him go, and then Bane fights off the rest of like the Cobra guys that are after them, while Batman gets away. Um, and then we do see, I'm not sure why, but for some reason the new gods show up when it looks like all of the henchmen are going to get killed. They're getting overwhelmed by Cobra, and all of a sudden the new gods show up and they're like, "We will help you. You've been reckless with our weapons, but you know, like, we'll take all these guys out for you." And so they take the weapons back, but they also kill all the henchmen of Cobra. Um, and then Batman, I guess Bane is getting overwhelmed as well. So Batman like opens the door of the sea bat and lets Bane in it, and then uh, they go away. They escape. They have a truce, and it seems like Batman and him have come to an agreement, a gentleman's agreement, as they say. And then we get the last thing with Cobra. We see Valentina kill the main leader guy of Cobra, and that way I guess she's in charge now. And then we see what happens to the baby. So the baby gets left at Saint Demas's orphanage in Gotham, and they actually cut the, I guess they did surgery where they cut the tattoo off of him, and they put a piece of, they grafted a piece of skin where that was, so no one will be able to find him, and they leave him with a bunch of money. And they also leave Bane leaves a teddy bear. Wayne leaves money, Bane leaves a teddy bear, and it's his teddy bear from when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's the end. So it seems like Bane kind of had a change of heart at the end of that one. So
Not so bad.
yeah. So that was it. What would you give it? What'd you think, John?
I liked it a lot. You know, it was like you said, Bane kept going in. Like you said, it felt like he was kind of older and set in his ways now. And he kept going in, and then he kind of would get overwhelmed or something would happen. And or he would like get get not necessarily one up, but get like softened to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this lady's uh kind of, she got a point, maybe I want her, or
I think with the
I should
ladies, it
be.
was because he's like, I like ladies.
I took it as being softer, at least, like becoming more of a not so hardened criminal per se. And then yeah, well, especially at the end too, when Batman's like, "Hey man, look, I know your story. I know what happened to you. Do you want that to happen to this kid? Hmm? Hmm? Do you want him to have horrible things happen to him?" So yeah, it was fun to see Bane, kind of coming off of his juiced, toxin filled rage of fighting and literally killing just hundreds of people, probably hundreds of henchmen. Yeah, so that was fun, and it was nice to see everything from his perspective and kind of like see his gears turning and what he's gonna do, but not not quite get there. Like he's still a bad guy overall. So to see his plans be foiled uh is still good. So overall, I liked it a lot, and I liked the art in it was a lot of fun. Um, like you said, it's fun to see a hairy villain, and all of his henchmen were very specific in their look too, and they had a fun, unique appearance. And then the silly, extra, over the top, kind of background, little guy in the chair villain of Dionysus was very fun, and like you said, kind of throwbacky. So yeah, it was fun. It was nice to have Batman in the mix too. Obviously, it's a Batman villain, so having him pop up and a couple other little characters, yeah, it was really good. And the art, absolutely solid. It could tell pretty much. Only time I got confused was a little bit towards the end with the villains, as far, or his crew he put together, because I wasn't quite sure when he was picking them out, and then they're all together, all maskless and just kind of like normal clothes. I was like, oh wait a minute, only one of them really looked, though, other than Bunny, because she's the only female, looked the same. So but yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I would give it a solid 7.
All right, cool. Yeah. Um, I'm going to give this a 6.5. I think it's a fun read. It definitely was a throwback to the 90s Batman era, um, with the same writer and artist and everything, and it being Bane. But I felt like this was one of the, like, I had a blast reading this. It was a fun book. Um, the pacing of it was fantastic. It did not feel like 12 issues. And yeah, I just overall I thought it was a pretty fun, solid story. There was a little bit of stuff where they just kind of threw you in and expected you to kind of follow, which I did for the most part. But I had some questions a little bit until they were like answered later. But yeah, I really liked it. I loved Bane in this. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. So I'm glad Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan got to do this like little mini series or maxi series recently. So and like have come back to the character like 20 years later. It's pretty fun. So Yeah. With that being said, I think we are doing Patreon. What are we doing for Patreon this week, John? For next weekends?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I realized we didn't say this was the Patreon picked poll. Every month we do a poll for our Patreon members, and they get to pick our second episode of the month that everyone gets. So again, Bane Conquest today we read for one, and patrons also get an exclusive extra podcast that we do. So if you want to become a patron, patreon.com/planes to comic books, all one word. And this week we're going to be reading Preacher, which I'm very excited about. I know that it was a good series from what you said, and then they even made the TV series about it. So I'm very interested to see what Preacher is about.
Yeah. So that should be fun. And I've actually only read the first trade of Preacher, so it'll be. I read it a long time ago, and I've read a lot of Garth Ennis stuff, and it just somehow I never went back to it after I read the first trade. So I am handing back my Garth Ennis Vertigo card as we speak, until I read all of Preacher. But yeah, so that, like John said, you can, if you want to listen to that, you can join at patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books. And then of course October is our spooky month. So we're going to be reading some horror books. I think we're doing double Draculas for that. We're like, the first one's going to be the Universal Monsters Dracula that came out from James Tinian, and then we were talking about doing the Kelly Jones, Matt Wagner Dracula book that just got released from them on Kick, or after it got sent out, I guess, from Kickstarter. So, and I think it's coming out at the end of October anyway, like from Image. So it should be pretty cool, and I'm excited about that. And then we got a bunch of other horror books that our patrons can vote on for the second episode. So be on the lookout for that. And once again, if you'd like to join, patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books. And with that, I think we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.